Nyathela bekubitsa ngenkadosi mhlaba omnyama mhlaba wakhokho masimakhumileyo akhulisa kuzinga nebhongo lama-Afrika kunika ama-Afrika lithi hutu ngenxa yenyameko yokumela inyaniso nenjongelelo yokugcina uzinzo le-Afrika kuba kaloku namhlaba nalamakati igolide nesilivere inkazimunye yabingani ukuthi hayi xa benirhafulile bezabarhafile baxhabaza amathanga rholilasa ntokamandela sithi bethe kweliso lezulu wena wathwala uthuthula zithoso igubutsa ngaphambili Omtlenge, Khizani, Steve Biko, Robert Samiko, Nteko Amakhweka, Zoliliendoyi, no Atle Tambo. Khambelem Devula Bamtikha. You have upheld the dignity and the stature of African child in the entire universe. You brought back freedom and democracy into the African continent. Ulukhali mhlasabeni futhula lokhathilizayo laze lafukanye buhlungwini yethempile khambeni inyama yabenhlanga yala ntotsini yala lamadiba ala lamadiba dintonga khizophuka madibuzi mncedi bize mnado ndiligube phumna navele indawo yakho size sabathengu siyandingqinela umnango umbhashi nganye sizetsitsa siyandiphumela siliyada liphunga Madikeka matiba madikeka miyegem zawututaka atwapa Deham Yo Akasemi la mageza du ministre Likhoha Kubakala kuskauni sebese kumkani Bahanya papu Kubakala katata madoja kutulena pesko skriti sote Konyaka wawakala makulati kabana masumu mabinane spini Afi kama takusapa matota banga Nakale nilipana Sakakadi kaka samatota Napara likazi matota Ukatsalbati na songe Siyakutulela kaspa skriti sa sote Sibu isola mvuma Kwa siyathola kunzi samakaleka Uministri ya kontuka Kubakala kuya suwa sisiswe Lapha Ikume kwa mkotu ya kwebi mungu Utamatota pelele ya Kakantadoli na matota Ingibaza matota siyancanyazela Kubakala kula minister lo yabuya Hayibotoka ministri yabuyisela Kapantapa, Ikumeka Bukatu, no Pemumbu, Otamatota, Palaya, Pawansakanina Matota. Manamina no to Bonayo. Come on, Salana. Aye. He needs to be better with this on the pen. I didn't know my daughter. Aye. Minister. It's a guy to song. Usman is struggling to spell the printer. What's because the man is struggling to master as a thing. I was quite used to me to the spring. Hello, they never stand again. Sing the Pacific Dynamic, don't get to master as an interest to stand. Please, I get down. What kind of some woman is to the shadow? Yay!
How? Is that all the ululation we know?
Ladies and gentlemen, may we all please rise for the playing of the national anthem of the Republic of South Africa. Can we now please take our attention to the screens in front of us so that we may play you a video of our journey as the annual National Heritage Careers Expo from Mapungubwe to Cape Town.
This year, our department and Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, together with our various sector education and training authority and our partners in the private sector, will again be hosting the National Heritage Expo which will essentially be to expose young people towards careers in the heritage sector. These will be focused on food, on fashion, on music, poetry, dance, and a whole range of careers which are offered in our TVET colleges and our universities of technology. This year's event will be held at the Mapungubwe National Parks with a whole range of careers which are offered in our TVET colleges and our universities of technology.
I'm not taking this one, I'm taking the video song.
Live.
Yeah, the video.
Yes. So this one is not live.
A very
No.
important
Okay.
heritage landmark in our country. The intention is
So,
to
okay,
connect
live now. What
students
time?
who are still in
When are you going to send this one live?
with
When it's done, we
careers
shift the
available
video, then we'll go
in the
live with the
heritage
song.
sector.
Okay. But I will live on the same link.
Doing this as part of the Heritage Careers Expo.
Sorry, cost around.
He says at the walkabout, towards the end, so we can Jane, when I can't even tell you, but it's at the walkabout.
Running up the school, but also
It's what? Towards the walkabout, I'll tell you.
and also making us all feel like family.
To not forget where they come from, to respect heat, and to respect the ingredients you're working with. All our graduates will brim with confidence, the skill to discover, and the ability to constantly learn, to contribute excellence in the industry valuing teamwork, participation, and diversity of ideas and perspectives.
Guys, spread out. The purpose of today's class was to come here and introduce the My technique to the students, and also how I made it to be a dancer, and also how they can make it to be dancers. The same journey that I've actually gone through. So it was important for them to hear it from someone who's actually walked the same journey as they are walking right now.
What I like about dancing is I find it as a way to express myself, and I find a lot of
Hey, my name is Mzwakhe Keswa. I'm the senior lecturer for music at Mulapo campus. The college is Southwest Gauteng TVET College. This is a positive venture that is done by the department, and we hope that there'll be more. So the more artists they bring, the better it will be for our students to understand the concepts that professional musicians have towards music and what they are doing with their music.
I was tasked to come and talk to some students at NSA. I was talking about how I became the type of artist I am and what it means to be a black female artist in South Africa at this particular point in time.
Well, the way I incorporate my heritage into my work is kind of to see how it correlates with where I am exactly, like in terms of like, oh, how does my heritage influence this and this and this, and see how I can say it in my work.
Kind of art that I would do if I had to consider art as a career. Yeah, it's realism mixed with surrealism.
I really enjoyed today. I thought it was awesome.
I think from Ukchala Isilo that we did, we learned a lot as a brand. My name is Nomfundo Mqoyi. I am the Group CEO of Icebolethu Group. We are in Pinetown in one of our operation centers. We have our own way of conducting funerals as Icebolethu, but we allow families to lead us. Just recently, we've done Ukchala Isilo. We had to make sure that we do everything according to protocol, according to how the Zulu nation, the Zulu culture requires us to conduct that funeral. Funerals are big now. Funerals are taken seriously. They're no longer the funerals we used to see 10, 20 years ago.
My name is Mtutuzi Matsani. I'm from Hammanskraal. I'm a ceramic manufacturer. I'm the founder and a board member of AfriPort Deco. We're basing our work on an industrial scale, but from an African roots. We're developing those African roots that our gogos used to do, and then we try to make them as international as possible.
My name is Jennifer Mako. I'm an SDF Skills Development Facilitator for the eMedia Group, which consists of ENCA, ETV, Sesani, Media Film Services. For the internship program, offer them practical skills, hands-on. So most of them are recruited and placed with special subject matters in specific departments, like your camera, archives, media library, technical operations, and in studios.
This internship program has fueled my passion for broadcasting and television, in that it has broadened my view of what broadcasting is.
After joining ENCA, that's where I got deeper with the knowledge of cameras, lighting, sound.
Africa is on its rise, and you are responsible to put Africa on the map.
I'm Emily Muima, the campus manager for CN Patudi campus of Sekhukhune TVET College. We feel honored to have this masterclass. Hence, we have started with our clothing production learnership not so long, nearly 2 years or 3.
When you're a student, don't think when you're a fashion designer, you only have to sew for people and that's all. It is a very broad industry and it has got such potential to create jobs.
I think we are going very far as a community of practitioners.
Nelson Mandela once said, the most weapon to fight poverty is education. Without skills, we are not going anywhere as a country, most especially for rural people. My name is Rulani Ndobe. I am the founder of Enero Business Enterprise here in Malamulele, Mukomi village. Enero Business Enterprise is more of a training and development. We do a lot of training for rural areas. The chances of us growing is big.
Hi, I'm Jonas, and I am a poet, writer, performer, producer, director. So I am really a storyteller who uses different modes of storytelling, different forms to bring a story to life, whether it's on stage or in front of a camera. So today I was focusing on the artist as an independent producer, because I think we don't always have access to kind of support structures. Sometimes there's just not enough money to go around. So what is important for me was to help these young artists or people that are interested in the arts to think about how they can build a career using what they have within their disposal, using asset-based management, but also collaborating with their peers, collaborating with their communities. So my focus was to trace my own journey and show them some key aspects that are necessary in building your career as an artist.
My name is Tommy Sitole. I work for Transnet National Ports Authority as a port manager of the Port of Richards Bay. What is important about having such an expo is that we showcase as Transnet National Ports Authority what we do as the landlord, our responsibility in providing logistic solutions as part of Transnet divisions.
They used to say sky is the limit, sky is not the limit. And your background shouldn't determine your future. It does not mean
Today was about what the port can do to those carriers which I said earlier on have taken, the back burner.
My name is Stella Johnson and I am the hair and makeup HOD of Uzalo. I studied beauty therapy and it's got like cosmetology, teaches you about skin preparation, how to put on makeup, day makeup, special effects.
Some of the key identifiers into a character's look go back to the character's story, who they are and where they come from. So a typical example would be a Mamlambo. She's a prophetess on the story. She's a praying woman, and she also regards ancestors. So you make sure you keep her towards cultural and African things. She's always mostly in African print to show that she is in touch with her African roots.
Gone into our initial lockdown, level 5. The Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation called a few CEOs together and said, even with COVID in our midst, tell me how you are going to give the young people of this country an expo that brings together all the careers that are aligned to our heritage as a nation. Find a way to make it happen and give it to the young people of this country. I believe the journey you've just seen now tells you that those CEOs succeeded. May they have a big hand. Deputy Minister Buti Manamela, SETA CEOs and board representatives of the SETAs, CEO of the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, principals of our various TVET colleges, members of the executive of the College Principals Organization, and our hosts, the College of Cape Town, led by Dr. Muswaba. Ladies and gentlemen, and our VIPs in school uniform, good morning, and thank you for joining us as we bring to a close the 2021 chapter of the annual Heritage Expo, Careers Expo. My name is Florence Masebe. I'm going to be your program director for today. It is not a very long program. What really is the most important thing about today is not only the speeches you will hear, which are very important. It is not only the discussions you will get to participate in, which are very important, but it is also quite important that you leave here having experienced every stall that has been set out to teach you about what careers are possible for you as you make your choice and career paths for where you will study when you finally take off that school uniform. We are hosted very ably in this part of the country. As we dreamt up our map from Mapungubwe to Cape Town, we sat and tried to figure out where we would be going when we get to Cape Town. And the team came to a decision, and we presented proposals to the Deputy Minister, and it was decided College of Cape Town would be our hosts. And since then, we've been working very hard to get to today. I'd like to ask the Deputy Principal, Ahmed Khafaldin, to just come and give us a word of welcome and the purpose of our gathering here today.
Thank you, Program Director. The Honourable Minister Manamela, CEOs of the SETAs, CEO of NSFAS, our College Principal, Dr. Muswaba, the College Principal of Boland College, Falls Bay College, and also West Coast College, senior officials from the DHET, invited guests, importantly, our students. Welcome to the annual Heritage Expo closing ceremony. This event is a celebration and collaboration of heritage and more importantly, careers that exist in the sector. As you move through the various stalls, you will experience the high standard of TVET College and SETA offerings. As you know, the 6 colleges in the Western Cape is amongst the top 10 colleges in the country, and we are exceptionally proud of that. Today's expo is part of that collaboration effort. Please experience the showcase of careers in the heritage field. I wish to thank the SETAs and the stakeholders for playing a critical role in ensuring the success of this event. Please feel welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Haffeldien. And right on your tracks will follow the principal of the College of Cape Town, who will not only welcome us to his college, but give us his message as the host. We invited Dr. Muswaba, Deputy Minister, when we went to Mapungubwe and said to him, you better come to the hottest part of the country to experience how we start this program so that you can go home having all the time to plan how you are going to top this when we get to Cape Town. So far, so good, Principal. Please come and address.
The Deputy Minister of the Department of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, His Honourable Comrade Buti Manamela, the CEOs of SETAs here present, representatives of NSFAS, my fellow principals of the Northern Cape and Western Cape, my chairperson of SAPCO, Mr. Mbulawa, the Secretary General of SAPCO, Mr. Madalani, the program director who is always forgotten, and all the people, not forgetting the director of the Western Cape and Northern Cape region, and all who are present today, including those who are taking these motion pictures. My own executive of the college, Deputy Minister, you are welcome. Deputy Minister, we would like to indicate in our closing remarks why you have done the right thing today. The right thing to be at the border of South Africa, the right thing to be on close to falling into the sea towards Australia, the right thing to bring people from the far north. The 6th of May was the day when we realized that Africa is one. That was the day we realized that Africa did not have borders, that Africa is rich, that Africa has everything. It is my greatest honor, Deputy Minister, on behalf of the College of Cape Town, College Council, on behalf of the executive and on behalf of your students to give you a message, not only a message of hope, but a message of providing history in the making. You have left a legacy. You will continue to build a legacy. We are aware that today you will be charting the path of this department by providing the inputs of the budget vote. But I would like to remind you, Deputy Minister, and say these words which always give us hope on this closing day of the National Heritage Expo to our young ones. Deputy Minister, you have reminded us, and in the words of one of the greatest African icons who ever lived and walked on the precious land of Africa, and I'm going to quote Deputy Minister. This icon says, "I'm not African because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me." Tate Kwame Nkrumah went on to say, and I quote, "We face neither east nor west, but we face forward." And in our own words of the living legend, the African son of the soil, and from his wisdom we tap, every South African child who is present here owe their being to the hills, the valleys, the mountains, the glades, the rivers, the deserts, the trees, the flowers, the seas, and the ever-changing seasons that define the face of our native land. And it is because of this reason that we gather here today to cherish, to preserve, but more importantly, to bring this to visibility of our young youth, the next generation, the generation that has been prepared, the generation that is being recognized. Ladies and gentlemen, Program Director, Deputy Minister, I want to remind the people here that the Antarctic legacy of South Africa values the preservation and educating the next generation about this legacy. I was in Mapungubwe, and I witnessed the legacy. I witnessed the generation, I witnessed the heritage that is there. But what is more important, Deputy Minister, is for our young ones to embrace, inherit, and take this forward. You have set a good precedent, Deputy Minister, that as at your age, you have taken it upon yourself to make sure that the generation of Africa has realized that they should get in the field of heritage, promote heritage, market heritage, make Africa visible, and not only use the heritage for the purpose of generation of income, but also preserving it. Today we meet here as part of the closing ceremony. The team led by His Honourable Minister, Buti Manamela, has crisscrossed the country. On the 6th of May, we were in Mapungubwe Hills, we were in Mapungubwe Village, we were in Limpopo, Ndovuwa, where the three nations of the South meet. And there we witnessed how they marked the three important rivers and the rich natural heritage. Today we are here, close to the Cape Point, where we are told this is the furthest place. If you want to go to Cairo, this is the furthest place that we want to preserve. Deputy Minister, on the 18th of April 2021, World Day Heritage was observed worldwide. And how wonderful it is to be closed today. The 8th of June 2021. The importance and purpose of celebrating World Heritage cannot be overemphasized. But I want to conclude by saying, Deputy Minister, it is all important when we live to think about the young generation. It is all important when we live to think about what are we going to leave for the next generation, and that is heritage. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muswaba. I think it is you who has forgotten your mask over here. You can't go anywhere without that. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get some entertainment. I believe it's from the students. I do not have detail here as to which college it is, but I can see the preparation already coming through. So let us please enjoy some entertainment. And while that is happening, can I please ask for assistance with making sure that we get the setup ready team, project team, if I can just ask, for the reflections discussion that we are going to have with the Master Champions. I should make you aware, ladies and gentlemen, that this expo has been made possible by a partnership with 6 SETAs. And these are CAP SETA, TETA, Services SETA, MICT SETA, Food and Beverage Manufacturing SETA, as well as FP&M SETA. I know we have the CEOs today of InSETA and Agri-SETA. I'm not sure if WNR is also with us. But so CEOs, pressure is coming your side as well. I think next year you should be here as a part of this collective that we have just mentioned, with more careers to expose young learners to. Go ahead. Siyabulela ingomso lethu. They are from Khayelitsha. Please give them a very big hand. Always feel free to ululate in Africa, especially at the Heritage Careers Expo. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask for assistance. I believe it will be with microphones. Are they mic'd up? Indication over there? Okay. I would like to invite our master champions to come to the front, and I'll call them each by name. The concept of master champions, ladies and gentlemen, is something that has been a part of the Heritage Careers Expo since the inaugural one that we had in 2019. And it is something that we continue to have, where we have people who are deemed to be masters in their own crafts coming through to share knowledge and give as much information as possible to the younger ones so that they may get them interested in the careers path that they have managed to master so well. We have been really honored and privileged this year to be able to get the master champions that we have. It was not by design, Deputy Minister, that this is an all-woman panel. We did have men, and along the way, unfortunately, they were not able to join the final list. Nevertheless, the list that we do have is quite a formidable one, and the women held the fort just fine, didn't we, ladies? Can I please invite onto the stage Bongiwe Walaza of Bongiwe Walaza Designs. You have probably seen quite a lot of Bongiwe's clothes along red carpets in South Africa, especially there in Parliament, Deputy Minister, when you guys go to the State of the Nation address. Thank you, Bongiwe, for joining us and for agreeing to be one of our master champions. I would also like to invite Mamela Nyamza, who is one of the most phenomenal dance exports this country has ever shared with the world. Mamela is a dancer and a choreographer and has been a part of some of the country's biggest dance theater spectacles, but continues to work as well in countries beyond our shores. We also have among us, we call her the lazy Makoti. She calls herself that. We have Morao Sishweni. She's no stranger to the Heritage Expo. In fact, she took part in a discussion at the inaugural one, but we believed we had not used her enough. We needed more of her wealth for her to come back and take part in this discussion today. Mohau has written a book. You probably find it in on your bookshelves in stores. It is called The Lazy Makoti's Guide to the Kitchen. She will tell you a little bit more about what she does and how she infuses heritage. In fact, not just infuses, but uses it as a departure premise for the work that she does with food. We also have with us Sipokazi Jonas. Sipokazi is a poet, but she's a storyteller really, and as she described herself, she's just a storyteller that uses multiples of mediums. Sometimes it's a pen, sometimes it's the theater, sometimes it's a microphone, and sometimes it's on film, but either way, you will hear her voice. Last but not least is a young woman who studied music, but is also a gifted natural singer and songwriter. Most of us would have seen her when she took part in the first season of The Voice on DSTV. And she now has her own album and is a fully fledged artist whose music we enjoy and we get to pay for a ticket to watch her sing. Ms. Zoe Mudiga, everybody, please join the panel. Is it okay if I take this mic from here? Thank you. All right, I'm not too sure how we're going to do that. You're going to have to give me those wipes so that they can be, oh, there is a microphone. There we go. Above all else, sanitize. So, we have requested this part of the program just so that we get to give a little bit of a background and to give these young ones who are here today a taste of something they could have missed by not being in the master classes. But by the way, they have not missed it because we've recorded all your master classes and we have them on video and we have them on a platform that they and their teachers and all the other learners and their teachers will be able to access and use for a long time to come as they make their decisions about careers. I'm going to start with you. Your experiences with the expo, why was this an important thing for you to be involved with? What did you have in mind when we asked you to come through? And what did you experience when you ultimately got to do it?
I'd like to first start by saying Sanbona Modwe, Muhammad, to all our leaders and our future leaders that are with us today. All look so gorgeous in your uniform. And thank you to the entertainment that is here for us today. When I think about heritage, I think about moving back to what South is. And I think that anything that reminds us of that is of crucial importance, because before we are anything to anyone in the world around us, we have to be something to ourselves. And so when I got the call from Mrs. Lawrence about being a part of the master conference, I was firstly like, oh, this is great, because these kinds of conversations have been in my mind for a very long time. And I have some Tswana and Zulu blood running through my veins. I have moved from province to province within this beautiful country, and that has left me in a space of somewhat feeling displaced. I am not the kind of black body in this world that has walked around knowing I have been very insecure about what language and identity is to me as a black person. And I thought that that was a beautiful perspective to have, because it has allowed me to be in a space of asking the questions and of being curious and of realizing that there are so many other young people who are like me that live my reality and are trying to reclaim who it is that they are. There's always the need to know everything, and I think for me it's important for us to be more curious. Whether you are an older citizen in the country and in the continent, or whether you are a young citizen, and I think a lot of the wisdom can come from a young perspective, even in us questioning each other. So for me, this was as much a sharing of my reality, of my perspective, of my craft, of my love of language, identity, culture, Islam, everything that goes with being a black body and a black experience. That's what drew me to be here with everyone, and I'm so honored to carry on learning and to carry on interrogating and to carry on documenting through my storytelling what it is to celebrate and to preserve and to honor our heritage.
Sipogazi, would you agree with her sentiments? Did you experience this a little bit differently for yourself, maybe?
Let me, I think I'll respond by sharing a story, because I think it's significant to be here as a professional artist. It's on the shoulders of and on the back of the labor of our parents, our forefathers, foremothers. So I'm going to share part of a poem as the catalyst of this conversation. My grandmother was a guardian who tended a kingdom of cabbages, leafy, layered planets that were in constant orbit emasimini. Umambele was a general rearing a battalion of survival at 50 cents a head. In imitation of Genesis, she could craft a field into her image long before the sun had sobered to rise. Ungoche, her husband, was himself a spade, toiling in the tunnels of Jozi, the colon of Gauteng, which was constipated with gold and the bodies of black men, spewing them out in opposite directions, one to the bus, but the other to the grave. See, my grandfather was an intercessory prayer, praying in pigs. His penance was paid inside a rock, and so his sweat would flow like rivers of provision and sacrifice, but sometimes like signals of smoke all the way to a case gamahok, where they were funneled into grandmother's veins of steel and a back as broad as Intaba Zakokobo, where she would yield a harvest, all Canaan-like, all big-headed paradise-like. This cabbage connoisseur could craft 7 variations of cabbage dishes, chopped fine like sermons. And so my inheritance lay underneath their fingernails. Even now, when it rains, I find that I crave the soil 3 times a day. Some call it anemia, but I know it to be communion. I'm gonna stop there. But I think what's significant for me about being here is that I come from a lineage of people who treasured education as a way of uplifting each subsequent generation. And so to have my grandmother sell cabbages to educate her children, and have my mother become a teacher, work hard, and then to be here as a professional poet is actually a multi-generational dream. And I think some of those things that we don't see as possible, to actually sit here and be able to present them as careers and not just hobbies. Or, with all due respect, I love the entertainment, but it's something so much more than that. It was more than entertainment. It was our cultural experience on display. And I don't know if I'm the only one who had goosebumps. But it was more than entertainment. And what we do, and I'm really grateful that it's framed as heritage careers, is because we're heritage workers. We're preserving, but we're also reimagining, we're also creating something new for the future, between the past and the future. So I think I agree with Zoe in thinking about what this means as a black creative, to be able to say, this is not just a hobby, this is not just a passion, this is a career. And I hope that what we've done is be able to give some resources, some tools that help to guide the way on how you can do that. And I hope that also will stand as an example, because sometimes you go home and they say, what do you mean you're gonna cook for a living? You just cook here in the house for free, right? But to be able to say, no, I have examples. Sometimes in the media, you think about the arts, you only see either people as celebrity, or in the other extreme of artists dying destitute. And we lost a very treasured legend recently, who I think should not still have been working, to be able to have all of the support that's needed, but for us to say, look, in between that extreme of celebrity and being destitute, there are people, so many people that are doing the work and are able to make a sustainable living.
Thank you so much, Sipogazi. you know, and I'm going to give you guys a chance to speak to each other and not through me, but I want everybody to have their first bite. And I'm coming to you first, Bongiwe, just to give them a chance to get Mohao's mic sanitized as well. So, Bongiwe, you've been in the world of fashion for quite a long time, and you continue also to stay true to the heritage slant of how you create your garments. Why was it important for you to be a part of this and to impart the knowledge to the learners and the students that you got to interact with, starting with the ones you met in Mapungubwe and the young ones you met in Sekhukhune and here in the Cape?
Thank you, Program Director. I greet everyone. To be part of this as a master champion in the first place is such an honor to me, because it talks to me that people approve of what I am doing as a fashion designer, that stick to the roots of being African. So that on its own is an encouragement to me, and I want to say thank you, South Africa, and choosing me as a master champion of this. I was born in Mkanduli, in a rural area, with my mother sewing, and I ended up being a fashion designer. And as I entered school, my first year, I was invited to participate in a fashion designer competition, of which I felt so small to be part of it because it was national. And I looked at myself and I said, who am I to compete with the nation? Because I had this picture of where I come from. So it was like a stumbling block to me until the lecturers made it a compulsory project. And I ended up being the winner of that whole competition. And it went on and it took me to where I am today. I must say that I was encouraged to participate in the Heritage Expo because I have seen myself as a designer going places, traveling through the whole world. And what was my unique selling point? It was because I am doing the heritage side of fashion, and therefore it raised interest and attraction from the nations of the world. And that on its own is talking to all of us that people already know, in terms of fashion, the European kind of designs. The unique selling point that we have as Africans is doing something that has got an origin of who we are, of course, which is African. That is the first part of it. The second part of it, I was very happy to be taken to Sekhukhune, which is also a rural area. I could identify with those people. And when we were having a question and answer session, there was a cry. I sensed a cry saying, how can we be where you are? How can we be established designers? And therefore, I thought now this will talk to maybe Deputy Minister, that I saw a need for the TVET colleges, especially the production side of things, the course of production, management and clothing. There needs to be added there a creative part of things, what we call creative design. We need to add creative design because those scholars, they want to see themselves designers when they finish there. And another thing that is lacking, that even lacked when I was doing fashion at Technicon of Natal, Natal Technicon.
It's DUT now.
DUT now. There was no, when you do history of fashion, there is nothing about Africa. Everything emerges from Europe. So it is high time now we add to this curriculum, that we add the origin of African clothing. The name of the course is History of Clothing. It needs to be added, and there should be an history of African clothing. There is a gap there, and those people, they want to finish there and go and establish themselves. And finally, another gap is that usually in technical colleges, you do fashion 3 months, and then another 3 months you must go for practical. Up to 9 months, it's 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. So it is not happening in these TVET colleges. They do a stretch of 9 months and they expect to go and work. Now these people hunger to be established. Therefore, there is a need that after 9 months, make sure that they go and experience in-service training now with designers like myself, not necessarily a learnership, in-service training. So meaning also referring to our SETA CEOs now, that we need to partner these established people like myself and other stakeholders to partner them with these students so that by the time they finish 18 months, they are ready for work. So those are the gaps that I saw, and I think the major focus should be on in-service training, not necessarily learnership, but they must either go to factories where the manufacturing is happening, others must go to designers, those who want to be established designers. Otherwise, there is potential, and these people are the very people that are able to develop our rural areas, because they can even, in terms of fashion, come up with factories where we have factories in the rural areas producing things for shops, for hospitals, for schools. So there are so many opportunities in the fashion industry. Thank you.
Wow, a mouthful, and I can see the Deputy Minister is taking notes and the CEOs of SETAs are nodding along as you speak. I hope the college principals, Mr. Mdalane, that you are taking what Bongiwe is saying as well and looking into how that gets incorporated into the work that you do in the colleges. Can I ask Mohau to share the experiences of working with the young people you got to work with, but your input as well into why heritage is so important in the work that you do?
Thank you so much. Good day to everyone, Deputy Minister and everybody present. What an honor to be with you all today. And I think we are going to sing the exact same song. When I did culinary arts many years ago, we did a chapter on everybody, on French food, on Italian food, but there wasn't a chapter on South African food. How insane that in South Africa, we are letting people study this art and they're not studying anything about themselves, be it the history, be it actual day food that South Africans are eating, not even African food. So there is that gap, there exists that huge gap. And I think we also need to remember that the responsibility of a chef is not just to prepare amazing food, but is to ultimately create what is acquired taste. So the unique taste of South Africa, chefs can influence that. And then they can influence a bigger ecosystem that is what people actually eat. So it's going to trickle down from the chef to food media, to what's in the grocery stores, to farming. So think about if South African chefs prioritize South African produce. If in kitchens, in the industry, we were using rooibos, morogo, sorghum, all of this ultimately will influence what is farmed, and that will influence economies everywhere. So I think that this was such a great opportunity to share with the students everything that is possible. You know, we think of being a chef in a very linear way, that I'm going to be a chef and then end up in a 5-star restaurant. But there's so much more, especially if you center your culture and your heritage. We have such beautiful, rich heritage that we are not prioritizing. I mean, if you think about when you eat your own food that is of your heritage, it's probably only a wedding or a celebration, but every day you work, you literally, whether you think about it or not, you work to preserve somebody else's heritage. Every day as you have croissants and Italian pizzas and American burgers, that is you plowing back into economies elsewhere. Today, as we sit here, the French culinary industry is worth billions of dollars, and that is because French people celebrate French food. And I think that that's something we should also start to do, and it starts with higher education in schools, actually teaching our young people to appreciate everything that we are. And it really is a mind shift, and it's a matter of national pride. You know, how dare we celebrate everyone else and not start here?
Whoa. It's food for thought, really, isn't it? Literally, Deputy Minister. When we hear young ones talking about decolonizing education, I think these things that the panel mentions here might be a part of that decolonization, to say we are not a by the way, we are the main curriculum. Can I have your word on what your experience was? What you had in mind when we asked you to be a part of this? Were you a little tentative? Were you going into it headfirst saying, yes, I want to do this? Why is it so important to share knowledge?
Thank you, Program Director. Am I on? Yeah? Okay, yes. Okay, molweni kusekhaya apha. So we speak Xhosa today. So ngizathi molweni namhlanje. Dibulise Deputy Minister and all the partners, the CEOs, and everybody who made this important event possible for all of us, for the students, for myself as an artist, for all of us here in this panel. It was really important for us to be part of this expo, because sometimes as artists, we are hardly asked to be ambassadors in our own country. So when I was asked to come and be part of this, and to be a master champion in dance, I was like, wow, it's about time for us to also talk about what we do, not only go out of this country and talk to foreigners, because that's what we always do all the time. As an artist, I'm always outside of my country. Actually, I was supposed to be away even now, but luckily I'm here. I'm happy to be here because the borders couldn't allow me to go to Germany. I was supposed to go and perform there, but I'm lucky and so honored. So when you asked me this, I was the happiest artist ever. I was even actually like saying, wow, maybe I've reached that time in my life to actually plow back to the youth. It is the Youth Month after all, even though we are celebrating our heritage. These events are both important to us, you know, and to you guys. You are the future. You need to see us. You need to actually learn from us, because when we were at TUTs, we did not have this. When I did grade 12, I never had this kind of expo. I was doing ballet. I was only 8 years old. And I was looking at those kids who were dancing there. Who's actually mentoring them, you know? Because that is not a hobby. Maybe some of them would love to be dancers when they actually grow up. So people like myself are here, and all of us here are here to actually plow back to you, because it needs to be as important as studying maths. Studying art must be as important as studying maths and science from an early age. So for me, this was really, really important, because if you can start dance, ballet at that age, you're gonna become the best dancer in the world. If you started at 20, your body structures has already developed differently. So you need to be developed like from an early age. Just like in sports, in tennis, you start that game early, you must get used to it. Your body must actually be trained at that vulnerable age. So when I saw the entertainment as dance, you see how important dance is. And you see how we can tell stories through poetry, through music. Actually, as an artist, I use all these art forms. I use food in my art. I use poetry in my art. I use costume in my art as a dancer. Those kids were wearing costumes. I use music in my arts. We can all collaborate together as artists sitting right here. So these are the things that you need to know as actually the younger generations that are going to be telling our stories, your mother's stories. Listen to your grandfathers. Sit down and ask them about your heritage, about your culture. Because also, when you go and perform, you need to be authentic. You need to be original. You need to be you. You can't sing like Beyonce. You are not Beyonce. You know? Have something of you. Even though I'm wearing this, but there's part of me that is African. Have something of you that represents you. And this is why this expo is so important, because it is about us, it's about you, it's about your country. You need to learn from us, and we are also learning from you too. Even though your word is actually to other artists who are studying about us overseas, who are writing about us overseas. Are you guys writing about us? Are you studying about us? So this is the time to change the curriculum of this country. Now, before we die. We don't want to be celebrated when we're dead. We want to be celebrated now. Thank you.
Whoa. Something is very wrong, and I'm going to throw it back. Bongiwe spoke about it with studying fashion. You went to a school of art. How much of Africa was in the art that you were learning in that school of art in this African country?
I think hearing these phenomenal women in the prospective careers that they're in as storytellers, and just seeing so much of myself in their stories is so emotional. When I was a very young girl, I was blessed to have the opportunity to study classical music, which is very parallel to the art of ballet. It's something that you learn and cultivate very early on. So I was spending hours and hours and hours and hours practicing clarinet, practicing piano, practicing voice, and practicing with a Western philosophy. And I'm very proud to be one of the alumni of the National School of the Arts, which I actually saw on the screen. So I was very happy to see that, and the fact that you contributed in that space, because I think it's so necessary. Spending all the hours there, and then I was privileged to come to the College of Music in UCT to study jazz there. And that was even more hours and more hours and more hours of practicing and learning the craft, because I believe that as much as I have a natural gift from my beautiful creator, it has also been harnessed by the hours of craftsmanship, because I take what I do very seriously. I'm about the entertainment, I'm about the art form, I'm about the exportability of what it is that I do. And I'm sure we all are as we sit here today. And one of the most disheartening things for me, as beautiful as these knowledge systems were and learning the things that I've learned, was really, again, like it's been reiterated by the women here today, is not seeing my people and my heroes and the people that I grew up listening to. There was never a Soul Brothers in the curriculum, and they're such an important part of what it is that we do. There was never a Princess Makoko in the curriculum. There was never a Miriam Makeba, who is called Mama Africa, who is praised by people near and far. There was never a Huma Sigela in the curriculum. You know, I don't know if I mentioned Mambusi Mhlongo, but there were never these people. There was never a Brenda Fassie in the curriculum. So I know more about a Beyonce than I do about a Brenda Fassie, who was filling up stadiums before that there was a fill up the dome, before that hashtag even existed, you know. I didn't get to learn about Abolebu Matosa and everything that makes us who it is that we are, you know. And I feel that very much like Usisi was saying, Guti, it is a responsibility by our education systems to have us seen on paper. I don't think I've seen anything more than a paragraph in the many textbooks that I've had to cram last minute sometimes, that I've had to study, that I've had to work through. But I have had to move outside of that identity crisis, which is what it became. And I had to ask Ugogo, well, it wasn't in the case of my own, because she's no longer here, but I had to ask Abo Gogo, ask people that come before me, and be like, who is it that I am? I've spent the hours, I've spent, you know, perfected the craft, but I still don't understand who it is that I am, because what people look to is exactly that, you know. And I was inspired by a story that I was told about Buti Manamela specifically, who has actually been the mold of a lot of musicians in the country, even though she has been criminally under-celebrated. She started as a jazz singer, which is what I started as when I was here in Cape Town. She started as a jazz singer and she was performing all over the world, as I've also been blessed to do. And she was asked by the world, okay, we see the jazz thing, but who are you? And the Buti Manamela that we get to hear now is the one that became who it is that she was. So she went from Usis Victoria to Buti Manamela, who I still use as a guide now in the ways that I navigate the stories that I tell about our people, and the music that I write about our people, and the way that I reflect people's life and experiences back to them. And so I think it is important for us to see ourselves written down on paper. And I recognize there's also an element of oral tradition that has been something that we have passed down, because we're a spiritual people as people of color. That has always been the natural way in which we pass information down, which means that maybe with all of that beauty, there hasn't been anything written down. But what becomes very difficult with that is that anyone can tell our stories in any way that they wish. And I think it's time to change that. It's time to see ourselves on the books. It's time to have a module on each of the ladies that are here on the panel today, because what we have to bring is something that is true, something that can be told apart from anything else that exists, something that is beneficial, exportable, something that is business savvy, as much as it does bring back to the beauty of who it is that we are as a people. So it's a very tricky conversation, but I'm glad that we are in this space with everyone that is holding the space to have it, because that means that that is the beginning of something. And that is the beginning of seeing that we're global citizens and we are learning different knowledge systems, but it's not at the not benefiting of our own, that we root ourselves first and then use that as a way to pay our way forward in everything else that we're going to learn and that we continue to learn.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. We're going to round this off, and Sipokazi, I'm going to ask you to do that for us. We still need to have these conversations. We are going to find a way of having these conversations, Deputy Minister. If you can just round it off for us, Sipokazi, and then I will thank you, ladies, and ask you to leave the stage.
I'm going to be sneaky. Can I round it off with a short poem? It's how I hold conversation. But thank you again, everyone, for the opportunity, and I hope that the people here who are interested will pursue us and pursue knowledge, because I think that's the key thing. When all is mixed to dough, I hold a pinch of every isiXhosa poem I write up to my mother's mouth to knead between her teeth. We deliberate on dry ingredients. This idiom here, this translation there, these puns here and those ones there, but she is mum on my substitution of self-rising flour for yeast. She knows it is the best I can do in the circumstance of a tongue baked in surrogacy. Every December, in exchange for a Tupperware full of roasted cook tried over coals, I present Umama with English poems to match the decadence of the season. Because English, with its heavy hand of sugar, corrodes my vernacular. English poems never let me forget that this bowl I work in is borrowed. When we break bread at the kitchen table, we slather slices of my mother's tongue with margarine, steer it along a steaming tide of rooibos or a glass sweating with ice and oros, but I don't know how to make this meal last me all year long. I want to pray in isiXhosa. Give us this day our daily bread, but when we commune with you, never let us need grace again. Thank you.
Can we please give them a big hand? And I think, yes, that does deserve. Thank you, ladies. You may leave the mics on the chairs. Thank you so much. And can I please have the mics sanitized, because I will be joined later by the SETA CEOs. Thank you very much. Another big hand for our master champions. We value you, we value your input, and we are honored that you agreed to walk this journey with us. I would now like to ask, he's the General Secretary of the South African College Principals Organization, but he is also the principal of the Northern Cape Urban TVET College, Mr. Brian Mdalane, to just come and give us a word of support. And while you are here, I'm going to sit down and give you the task of introducing the Deputy Minister. Please bring back the microphone to...
Good morning. Members, good morning. Are you cold? Oh, it's just gone afternoon. Oh, good afternoon then. I thought the afternoon will come a bit late from Northern Cape. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And let me also greet everybody who is here, the Deputy Minister, the CEOs of SETAs, the CEO of NSFAS, the board members of all the SETAs, NSFAS and colleges, the college community, and at the same time, the learners who are here to experience exactly what is happening and who would then take something out of here to improve their future. I have been introduced, and I'm happy that I was introduced so that it takes some time for me to go through what I had to do. Heritage is important, and its awareness is also important in our sector. You can't separate the two. Because the TVET sector is there to prepare the students for the world of economics, either as a workforce or as job creators. Therefore, it is important that this awareness through expos takes place in the TVET space. Because it is the responsibility of the TVET colleges, the SETAs, and the ministry to see to it that we link our programs to heritage. The reason is simple. The business ideas are influenced by people's wants. And if you don't know the heritage as a business person, your business will not succeed. Because you would not know what is important for people. This is an opportunity to rewrite or to help us erase what was put in our minds in the 1600s. If you go and read the letter that was written by Willie Lynch during that time, you would see that they were preparing us for failure. And it is important that we work against that as a nation. Remember that heritage serves as a source of identity and continuity in terms of growth and development. Because it is there to help us promote business ideas, not only social cohesion, but also business ideas. Because at the end of the day, you will have to put bread on the table. And when you look in the past, people were able to be self-sustainable. They were able to put food on the table. But nowadays it's becoming difficult, even just to plant seeds in your garden. Therefore, Program Director, through you, I would then want us as a community of TVETs to start promoting the master champions so that we are able to have these people sharing the information with the students, so that these students can be in a position to understand why are they learning about something. If they continue to do that, the same ideas of internship or what is called in-service training would then assist in this education. The SETAs continue to work together with the ministry in doing all this, because there's a blueprint and somebody is holding the blueprint. But I'm lucky to know that there is somebody holding it. Deputy Minister Sakpo is in support of the Heritage Career Expos across the provinces, because this will ignite the thinking of our students. It will also shape the future of our students, so that we don't train them for streets, but we train them for the world of work. And the world of work is it's not waking up in the morning and going to work for somebody else. It's also for you to do something with the skills that you have, so that you can survive as a human being. We are grateful that this is happening, and it is driven by somebody who is vibrant, somebody who is saying, I'm holding this blueprint so that I can share it with all of you. Deputy Minister Buti Manamela, young and vibrant, the one who says, I am from that sector and I will continue to support it and make it develop. Deputy Minister, let me then, with those words, introduce you to be the one who's going to tell us more about the blueprint. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Principal. That's the General Secretary of the South African Principal College Organization. Let me firstly, Program Director, extend my greetings to the principal of this college, who's our host, and also to the many people who were involved in the organizing of this from the college, those who contributed to the success of today's Heritage Expo. Also extend greetings to our masterclass champions who have done quite a good job working together with the students and youth since we launched the second edition of the Heritage Expo sometime last month. Those who are here, the masterclass champions, and those who couldn't make it but who contributed in the journey, thank you very much for your contribution. Let me also acknowledge and extend gratitude to the CEOs of the different sector education and training authorities who are here, the CEOs of SETAs and the accounting authorities of the SETAs who are here. And I must say that the contributions that the SETAs have made have been quite immense for the success of this this year's Heritage Expo. And we are obviously looking at working with more of the SETAs if this is to succeed. The Vice Principal acknowledged the CEO of the NSFAS. I didn't see. Oh, there, yes. We all masked, so I was trying to locate where the CEO of the NSFAS is. And it's good that he came, because most campuses where we go to, the students tend to have some issues or another with the NSFAS, but I think we have that under control. And everybody else that I might have missed, you all welcome, but more importantly, the students who are here, whom the expo is all about. We could only manage to bring very few of you, but we hope that you will be ambassadors for the Heritage Expo and the careers that are involved in heritage. So this afternoon not this afternoon, just immediately after this, I'll be joining the Minister and the members of Parliament in debating our budget vote for higher education. So you'd really bear with me. It is something that obviously when we planned the closing ceremony of the Expo, we did not anticipate that on the same day Parliament will decide that we have the budget vote taking place today. But with the brief remarks I want to make, I firstly want to start by noting the fact that over the years, especially post 1994, both our basic education and higher education and the whole country put an emphasis on science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and now innovation.
And a lot of kids were driven towards those careers and were encouraged to take up those careers as the careers that need to be studied if we were to take our country forward. It was obviously conscious because most, particularly black schools, were excluded from these careers. You had fewer black engineers, you had fewer black scientists, and so forth. And so that conscious effort was made to open up opportunities in these fields of study so that we have more, particularly black, particularly women, actively taking part in those careers. But the downside of it, and that campaign was important and it's still continuing, and it's important that we inculcate a sense of need and agency as it relates to those careers in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and innovation. But the downside of it was that careers which had to do with what we defined for purposes of this expo with our heritage already took a knock, because there was no focus on those careers anyway. In a lot of schools in the past, particularly schools in black, Indian and colored communities, students were encouraged to take up streams which will lead them to be teachers, to be nurses, to be doctors, to be lawyers. Those were the popular professions that were put in the forefront. And so if you wanted to be a dancer, if you wanted to be a poet, if you wanted to be a cook or chef, if you wanted to be in fashion design and make clothes for people, those were not regarded as careers. And they still doubt in many of our parents whether you can just go and study dance or drama at a university. And so parents would say, why don't you do engineering? And then you can pursue this thing of yours so that you can have a fallback. So our intention is to make these careers fashionable and not as a fallback, because in the minds of many kids in school, if someone can cook for free at home and the food is tasty, why go to university or to a TVET college to go and study to be a cook or to be chef? And the panel was raising an important point. If you dance for our entertainment and without us having to pay for it, why should we regard that as a career if we can just get it for free? Well, everybody can dance, well, except me. I'm the only exception, and maybe I should have been your student in the master classes. But it is this perception around what constitutes a career that pushed us to bring these back, not as competition to science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and innovation, but as complementary to those. But also because, and someone in the panel made the point quite succinctly, that you regard people who are active in these professions as celebrities, and we forget that most of the people who are practicing these trades went to a TVET college, went to a university, they acquired a qualification, and they are giving it the best they can in expressing themselves, but more importantly, they are putting their heritage in the forefront. And that we may see people as DJs, as dancers, as actors, but that there's more to what cook, that these programs, these careers, you have to go to school to go and study. Well, there may be those who may not necessarily have studied these professions, yes, and who may have made it, but those should be the exception, because we need to mobilize our young people into these careers. And the reason I said that this is in complement with the rest of the other careers in science, technology, mathematics, engineering, and innovation is because if you think about fish, for instance, if you want to have fish, it means you must know how to fish. If you know how to fish, it means you must have a boat. That requires some engineering. If you are going to have it as snook, you must learn the food sciences that are involved to preserve it. Probably somewhere in Langa or in Michelle's Plain, it's easier for our grannies to preserve snook. But you have to go to school for these. If you like it, like Minister of Finance, as canned fish, still, it has to be preserved, it has to be prepared in a particular way, so you must go to school for this. If you have to cook it properly, well, he says he cooks it properly, and I take away his word for it. I haven't tasted it yet, like our minister. You still have to go to school for it. So that's only with fish. And I can go into a whole range of other related areas in terms of the kind of careers that we are putting to the forth as part of our Heritage Expo. So you don't just wake up and say, I can sing, because the pastor like you in church and then they make you sing more often and more frequently than everybody else. But there has to be a way within which that talent must be harnessed to learn music, to learn the notes, the octaves and all of that that's involved, or to play an instrument. There are institutions for us to pursue all of these careers. But what is even more critical for us to push these careers as heritage careers is because there is a lot of politics that are involved behind these careers. If you go to China, and I make this example all the time, or to France, you don't find in Beijing something called a Chinese restaurant. Because in China, so any restaurant is already assumed as Chinese. But here we have Marcos, who's one of the exhibitors. He's got a restaurant here in town, and it's called African Restaurant. Precisely because the rest of the world have occupied the space which should be occupied by South African or African food. So you need that distinction to say, well, if you want to have your own food, you must go to an African restaurant. And the same applies with clothes. I'm not wearing a European-styled garment. I'm wearing a suit. But those who are wearing that beautiful dress, it's called tradition, Uapere tradition. So it's no longer clothes, precisely because, not because we want to emphasize its traditional nature, but because the space it's supposed to be occupying in our country and in our continent has been taken by everybody else from the world, and therefore it must be a distinction and for special occasion. So those are the kind of politics and ideological issues that we need to think about, that if we have more young people trained in these trades, it means that our heritage would in a way be preserved. And so from the many young people who are doing their grade 11 and 12 who want to pursue studies at universities of technology and our TVET colleges, in music, dance, poetry, culinary, all of those. I want to say to you that in pursuing those, we have to insist on and emphasize the heritage preservation and how these careers are at the forefront, at the coalface of the preservation of our heritage. But it also speaks to our colleges, us at the department, the curriculum content which we present. We are not going to get these careers to be central in the preservation and promotion of our heritage if it does not start at university, at TVET college, and all of that. And if the body of knowledge is packaged in such a way that we have to learn what the rest of the world does and forget that we have our own also to learn, then that's a problem. So that's one of the things that we really have to look at. If we're studying fashion, if you're studying music, what relationship does it have with our country? That's where we should be starting. That's the kind of music that we should be celebrating. And that we shouldn't start noticing some of our greatest artists only when they are globally acknowledged. That it is our responsibility to plant the seeds into the future so that we have artists in all these areas whose work will be for the maintenance of our heritage. We started this expo in Mapungube, which is one of the World Heritage Sites, and deliberately ended it here in Cape Town. And we've been throughout the country interacting with grade 11, grade 12 learners, taking them into these spaces that represents our heritage and getting them to connect with these careers that we believe connects with our heritage. And it's been quite an exciting journey, because throughout the journey we get to speak to kids who were told that they shouldn't be pursuing dance. I'll teach you how to cook, don't worry. You can cook better than lazy makoti. The church will support your singing, so you don't have to go to a university or a TVET college for this. We've met kids who have passion about these careers, but they are somewhat stopped by Mureki, the breadwinner, the parent. And that's important, and that's why we also want to speak to the parents at home because one of the reasons why, and this is why we want to promote these careers, one of the reasons why kids drop out first year, second year at university is because they were told, you have got to go and be a chartered accountant. Your dad was a chartered accountant. Your great-grandfather was a chartered accountant, so you need to continue with that tradition. I was listening to a waiter yesterday who was saying she went to study electrical engineering because her father was an electrical engineer, but she sees this thing is not going to take her anywhere because it's not who she is. And so she wants to be active in the hospitality and culinary industry because in that way she can better express herself. And many kids drop out not because they are stupid, because no one is, but they drop out because they wanted to be musicians, they wanted to be actors. But these opportunities were denied from them and for them. One of the biggest debate, I'm really excited, so I need to be reminded with time, program director. So one of the things, CEO of NSFAS, that I know we're going to have a big fight and discussion about, with all the cuts on student funding and the discussions that are happening around student funding and all of that and so forth, is whether should we not prioritize certain programs to qualify for government bursaries. And I know the first ones that will fall off would be these careers which I believe contributes towards our heritage. So we're going to fight about that, because a child who wants to be an actuarial scientist must be allowed to meet or fulfill their dream just as equally as a child who wants to be an actor. And if the state has to fund for both, then the state should equally. That's important. We were at UCT yesterday talking about hair and skin products and the proliferation of hair and skin products, cosmetics in our country, and that the majority of what we consume, more than 70%, is not locally produced. It's produced from elsewhere. And so in UCT, they're training BSc students as postgraduate in the production of cosmetics, so that they go and pursue these as a business or whatever. And even then, remember I spoke about the politics of food, music, dance, even our hair and our skin, that there's so much politics involved in there, and that these spaces must be used to engage with those kind of issues. If 70% of our cosmetics are from outside, meaning that we're continuing to enrich multinational and multinational companies, and we become the face of these multinational companies, and we undermine products which are made for our skin and for our hair as backward. And with all due respect, we favor those products which stretches our hair as opposed to those which are meant to maintain our hair as is. And we're probably even the first one to jump when school kids are told that they must go and fix their natural hair because they don't belong into this or that school, or put pressure, particularly on young women, to bleach their skin because a particular skin color is regarded as superior. And therefore, if you are lighter in complexion, you are better positioned to achieve certain things. That those are some of the nuances that we need to navigate if we to reclaim and center our heritage, our South Africanness collectively, and package that into the rest of the world. We have wine and a whole range of other products which are associated with being South African. And so we should be able to do with South African food, koeksisters, mogodu, all of them. Mopani worms, masoja, boboti, curry, all of those as the unique South African flavor. And similarly with music and with all of this. And it has to start, as someone said rightly so, with our education system. And I'm quite excited that all of you are contributing immensely to help us bring about this vision and dream of getting our education institutions to prioritize our heritage, so that we can study Moses Taiwa Mlelekwa as a peer to Tchaikovsky, not as a by-the-way reference, you know. So those are the kind of things that we have to fight for in these spaces in our education institutions, so that these people who are about us, who are telling our own stories, who have made our country prominent and placed it in the map globally, in whatever heritage career that you can think of, that they're not celebrated only by dancing to their music or eating their food, appreciating their acting, etc., but that we learn that these are the genius who are continuing with a tradition that started way back, and that we're going to preserve it. Into the future, and Principal, this is what I was thinking about when I was talking to you earlier. Into the future, we want hopefully to see a situation wherein students in our TVET colleges, in our universities of technology, and in our universities not only learn from the masters of the trades, but we have an open fair where they can compete amongst themselves, so that we raise the profile of these heritage careers. And I'm sure the masters would help us navigate through those spaces, so that our country must know that when young people go to universities, to TVET colleges to study these things, that we're producing gems in areas of expertise that they're passionate about, but also more importantly, that kind of space will also have to be an outlet for them to know how to make a living out of these careers, but also to teach our society why these careers are important for these kids to continue with that. So it's obviously something that we'll conceptualize, engage with everyone else, and look at how we can better improve this Heritage Expo. Of course, hopefully there will not be these constraints of COVID, and then we can make it a better one. So thank you very much, and thank you for being part of this journey, and hope to see you in the next Heritage Careers Expo in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. I believe, DM, we should be excusing you now. So as we excuse the Deputy Minister, who must thankfully, to the virtual situation we have this day, go into Parliament immediately. He's not leaving us because we've now bored him and he's finished speaking. We do have the department's budget being presented in the NCOP. Thank you very much, DM. Can we give him a warm hand? Okay. And up next, I have asked that I get a video lined up. And that video will be giving you, I think you saw the journey from Mapungubwe didn't quite arrive in the Western Cape, ne? Did you notice that? Yeah. So it kind of sort of suggested, but never really got to the Western Cape. And it's not because the Western Cape wasn't doing anything. In fact, even in the journey from Mapungubwe, CEOs, the team keeps saying, you're not telling them enough. We did so much more. We did do quite a lot because we started at Mapungubwe on the 6th of May. And we managed to be doing a whole lot of activations every week since the 6th of May and all the way up until today. We sat under a tree and had a round table on indigenous knowledge systems with Professor Jonas Seleti from the Department of Science and Innovation and graduates who were part of the Bachelor of Indigenous Knowledge Systems from Northwest. We sat with original knowledge holders from the communities in Bembe who gave us quite a lot to think about with regards to how we approach heritage and activations around heritage. We spoke with various people in the sectors about careers within the food and beverage manufacturing fields. We spoke to young food scientists. We spoke to young skin and hair care scientists, as Deputy Minister just mentioned. We also visited quite a lot of stakeholders that have something to do with the works of each and every SETAs. We didn't just do that in the rest of the country, we also did it when we arrived in the Western Cape. We've been in the Western Cape for this entire week, Principal Mdalane. We did not just arrive today. So we would like to share the Western Cape highlights with you. And when we are done sharing the Western Cape highlights, we will ask, it won't be a round table with the SETA CEOs, but we will have just one of the CEOs coming to give us a reflective wrap-up of the impact of the Expo on the work of the SETAs.
The world changes, revolutionaries die, and the children forget. The ghetto is our first love.
My name is Mihlem Vilagobi, 23 years of age, from Eastern Cape in Flagstaff. After finishing at the School of Skills, I decided to continue with my studies, whereby I registered at the TVET College. I started with my level 2 NCV until I finished my level 4.
About it no more. Are the beautiful ones really dead? Nizilibe ngoma, nizala ngoma. Nizala ngoma. Nizilibe ngoma, nizala ngoma nina. Nizala ngoma. Nizilibe ngoma, nizala ngoma.
Keegan Lucas. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Bellon. I started as plumbing and took part in the N1, N2. From there, I was introduced to WorldSkills and also started an apprenticeship at College of Cape Town, the Centre of Specialization.
My name is Ihsan Small. I come from Mitchells Plain, Rocklands. I'm studying at the College of Cape Town, City Campus. I'm a level 4 student in hospitality. Hopefully I want to finish my N6 with the College of Cape Town and take my career further.
Igama lami ngithembelani Twili, ngihlala eGugulethu NY11 number 141 section 3. Ndenza i-course ekuthiwa yi-upholstery level 3 i-College of Cape Town, i-Taunton campus.
Hi, my name is Naran Roda. I'm currently studying at College of Cape Town in Wynberg. The course that I'm studying is hair care. I'm in my final year. I'm in level 4.
Hi, my name is Riandi Keiler and I am a WorldSkills competitor and a Western Cape finalist.
Hi, my name is Ida Hendricks. I study beauty therapy at the College of Cape Town in Wynberg.
Hi, my name is Noel Friedrichs. I am 22 years old, currently residing in Bellville South, and I am a clothing production student at Northern College.
My name is Mxolisi Michael Mali. I'm studying here at Northlink College, Clothing Production, N6.
I'm Buti Manamela. I'm 23 years old. I'm Northlink College student, currently studying in 6 clothing production.
of Cape Town. So we did learn a new way of doing exhibitions. We did find a way to exhibit as much as possible during a pandemic without bringing too many people into one space. We have discovered that we can have the activations and film them and have as much detail as possible so that at the right time we can add all of this work to a platform that each and every one of you can access and refer others to, that educators and learners and parents can find and still get the experience of the Heritage Expo. And that is why we have been calling it the Hybrid Heritage Expo ever since we started it in Mapungubwe on the 6th of May. Right now, I'd like to ask you to help me welcome the CEO of Food and Beverage Manufacturing, SETA, Mrs. Nokuthula Slamlela.
Greetings to all. I think this is higher than me. Thank you. Greetings to all protocol observed. I stand here with my fellow CEOs of SETAs in support of the Deputy Minister's vision with regards to the Heritage Career Expo, where we're highlighting different careers in different industries that are available. The SETAs have been invited to support this and believe in it and invested so that we can bring careers, different careers to our learners. And we are excited to see all the videos that we've seen here that are highlighting what careers are there in different sectors, especially. We also understand the importance of making learners understand what careers are there, and that's part of our mandate as the SETAs. This vision started in 2019 in Freedom Park, where a few SETAs supported this vision of the Deputy Minister. However, I'm very excited to see more of our colleagues coming together in support of this event. We have grown from 4 SETAs to 6 SETAs, and we continue growing. We are very excited to be part of this journey. And as you know, our mandate as a SETA is to promote development, promote skills development for both the employed and the unemployed. And as said by the Deputy Minister, that we started in Mapungubwe, but the actual career, the first one was in Freedom Park. It has grown, and we are now in Cape Town. We have witnessed different careers across the country, showcased by different masters. We have seen the spirituality of dance from Dizwi Blakis and Zoe Modeja from UCT, who have shown us how traditional music can be composed into jazz and how the echo of African sound can go all the way to New Orleans. We have seen Bongiwa Walaza, Maxhosa, and others showcasing their craft, and learners getting to understand firsthand what it takes to be a creator of clothes that are worn all over the world. I'm sure you have heard about the movie called Coming to America, where we've seen some of the clothes from South Africa created by Maxhosa, worn by people we never ever thought we were. I'm lucky that when I was growing up, I witnessed or watched Coming to America 1, and I never ever thought I would ever see our clothes being worn by the likes of Eddie Murphy. So it is clear that the world has woken up to our creativeness in South Africa, and learners are learning how cool it is to be creative. The young people have met Mokgao, who is also known as the Lazy Makoti, who showcased the learners how important it is to appreciate our own food. At the webinar that I hosted, or was hosted between myself as Food with SETA and DHT, supported by the Deputy Minister, there was one person there that asked, why do we not have our own foods in our own restaurants across the country? And you heard our Deputy Minister talking about it, saying that we should not only have Makos known as African restaurant, but our foods must be known and expected everywhere in the country. We got to taste masonja, ting, intloko, njerele, mhodu, and other indigenous foods. At CPUT, the learners were taken through the journey of coffee making and the craft of being a barista, while Chef Funi took learners through the craft of baking. In Pretoria, learners met a young gentleman who creates pottery and crafts the most beautiful crockery. At Gibela, learners learned about the evolution of trains and manufacturing of new trains and the skills that are required for that, and other skills that we now know as the future skills. These are just a few highlights of different careers that learners were exposed to throughout the Heritage Careers Expo, and it was exciting to actually meet the masters who are actual business owners through these careers, and it was exciting to see them firsthand here today, who shared their stories of how they've made it this far. In Mapungwe, the Agri-SETA CEO was confronted by Elena, who asked him, how are you going to change the narrative that's out there about agriculture being a career of those who wear khaki shorts and speak probably mostly Afrikaans and are farmers? How do you make it sexier? And it is part of what he's going to do to make agriculture sexier and has everybody being a farmer. I therefore, on behalf of all the SETA CEOs, thank the Deputy Minister for having this vision and bringing along the SETAs to support him in this journey of bringing careers to the learners, and we saw different careers. I'm in the manufacturing space. It was exciting for me to speak to a young learner who is studying PhD at CPUT, who is a food scientist, explaining to me different preservatives that are included in food and what each means. And she was quick to tell us that as Black people, we normally say everything is fish oil, but it all comes from different sources. We are never too old to learn, so we're not only talking to young people, we're also talking to older people like myself, and I sincerely hope that learners have gotten to understand all different careers and exciting careers that are out there, and SETAs are there to support learners with programs that they embark on. And I am glad as well to see that there are so many different careers that they've gotten to learn. SETAs do offer bursaries on top of what NSFAS offers. We fund learnerships, we fund skills programs, we fund artisanal programs, we fund several learning programs that make all this possible. So I thank you, and I sincerely hope that learners got to understand everything today and will take what they've learned, especially from the masters who are practicing these on a daily basis, and understand that it's not necessarily only accountants, not that we don't need accountants, not that we don't need engineers, but there's also other careers that are equally exciting. So on behalf of the SETA CEOs, I thank you. I thank the Deputy Minister. I thank the Department of Higher Education and Training. I thank everyone here for allowing the SETA CEOs and the SETAs to be part of this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. I kind of think it feels so weird. Have we really come to the end of this all? I wish you could bring back the young people to dance just one more time. Do you think we can? If we can please have them ready, but while they're getting ready to come and dance, I just have some housekeeping things to say. Oh, we don't have them to come back to dance. Okay. I've run out of tricks. See, that's what happens when you're a one-trick pony. I would like to invite Mr. Kumbudzo Maumera, who is a member of the SETA board, to come and give us his words of thanks. SETA being responsible for heritage and for the bulk of the sectors that speak to heritage, had been quite a force in leading the SETAs to get us to where the Heritage Careers Expo is now even in its second year. This is a partnership that the Office of the Deputy Minister values quite immensely, and thank you to all the SETAs for being a part of it, as you have demonstrated, CEO Noktula. Mr. Maumera.
Good afternoon. Program Director, thank you so much for the opportunity to give some remarks on this beautiful occasion. To the Deputy Minister, Honourable Buti Manamela in absentia, all the accounting authorities represented here this afternoon, the CEOs of all the SETAs represented here, the regional manager for the Department of Higher Education and Training, Mr. Cassie Kruger, the host institution being the College of Cape Town represented here, the management from the various institutions of higher learning, the exhibitors, and all of our valued stakeholders who are present here, all the service providers, Greetings and all protocol observed. On behalf of the SETA Board Chairperson, Mr. David Tembandlovu, who unfortunately couldn't join us today as he recently experienced a bereavement in his family. He really would love to be part of this occasion, and therefore please allow me on his behalf to take this opportunity to thank all of you joining us today. Today we close what I believe is one of the most creative and informative career exhibitions that I personally have ever been part of. When I joined the SETA board, I was told about this idea, that this idea was born around 2018, and the idea was launched in Gauteng the following year, which is in 2019. This became evident that this is quite an extensive and comprehensive program that I've ever seen. The reason for this program was that there was a gap that was identified as far as promoting careers in arts, culture, and heritage sectors, and therefore this program was designed so that that gap can be filled. As it was in 2019, there is today still an urgent need to expose our young people and learners to the post-schooling education. And we need to focus in arts, culture, and heritage sector. I heard some people saying we need to make this sector very attractive so that our young learners can be able to gain interest in the sector that is quite so important. As you may have seen, the stalls that we went through and the videos that were played over there, they were all telling a story to an aspiring different sectors and professionals. Being an artist, whether a chef, whether a storyteller, whether a performing artist, whether a visual artist. So this confirms that really in this sector, there are quite a number of fields that one may follow. Therefore, it is quite important for us to be able to encourage our young learners to follow this career path. Because it's quite a fact that not every learner is going to follow a formal career as it was referred before. There were a number of comments by speakers before me that we always refer to these other careers as not formal, whereas they are formal. I think we need to acknowledge the fact that they are formal as any other career. I believe that this generation is quite fortunate because they can be able to pick the career they want to follow. I will tell you that even if I wanted to be a musician in those early days, or an artist then, I'm quite sure it was quite going to be very difficult to explain it to my parents to say, you know what, I just want to go and dance now and follow that as a career. Because then it was believed that these other careers were the only careers available for us. You were perceived or you were expected to follow the careers that were well known, like you have to go and become a teacher or a nurse. Then your parents will be able to understand that he is following an office job, as we refer to it, and these other careers are not necessarily important. And we need to change that narrative. And I was quite interested by the contributions of our panelists over here, where they were clearly indicating that we need to take this seriously by also including these sectors in our education curriculum. Let me reflect that now we are all aware that we are in the midst of the pandemic. There is COVID-19 pandemic that is amongst us. It is important to note that given the current lockdown restrictions, we were forced to change our approach to having these career exhibitions. At first, we thought this is a new idea to all of us, but after having gone through it, it has proven to work perfectly, and I want to believe that even after we have beaten this pandemic that is amongst us now, we may continue to have a hybrid of physical exhibitions as well as digital and visual exhibitions, because it appears that that is the way to go from now going forward. I was quite interested when a number of people were talking about the launch of the expo at Mapungubwe UNESCO World Heritage Site. Coincidentally, I visited Mapungubwe last weekend on the 29th of May, where I was meeting with the descendants of the Mapungubwe village. I was not part of the delegation that was at Mapungubwe, but the purpose of my visit was because I'm part of the team that is looking at the upgrade of the interpretation center at the Mapungubwe National Parks. We met with the descendants of Mapungubwe, various families who, some of them have lived in the village. They've got first-hand experience of the Mapungubwe village. This goes to show that for us to be able to collect that oral history, we need some skills for us to be able to do that. The upgrading of the Mapungubwe Interpretation Center needs also to not only focus on on physical exhibition, but it also has to go virtual or digital as well. Of course, the Deputy Minister, the partners in this Heritage Expo, we really want to say thanks to the Deputy Minister, thanks to the partners. We really want to thank you for giving your resources for funding this event. This event will not have been successful without those kind of commitments from yourselves. Let me thank all the institutions of higher learning, whether public or private, that welcomed us in their premises and shared valuable information with us. And that information, we can confirm that it will be part of our Heritage Career Expo content. We also want to repeat and thank all our stakeholders. Some of them who were panelists and they were referred to as master champions for this event. Really, we want to thank you for availing yourselves and participating in this Career Expo and in a number of ways in the engagements that you had during this period. Your contribution really had made this Expo a successful event. There were a number of activations that I believe will serve as a learning tool to various schools in the country. When the video was shown, there was a young man from Hammanskraal called Mduduzi Matsane, who took the craft that he learned from his father to create beautiful ceramics, and by doing that he also employed some member of the communities to be part of the project. In that way, creating job opportunities. I'm just making this an example. There are a number of initiatives that were part of this expo. And these are the initiatives that we are looking forward to share with the whole country because they are quite interesting stories. Let me take this opportunity to thank all the stakeholders, to mention specifically the College of Cape Town. Thank you for hosting us, for opening your doors so that our content video shoots and masterclasses sessions can be conducted. Your dedication, your support is highly appreciated. We also want to thank all the institutions of higher learning that accommodated most of us here when we were asked to shoot content videos, the Cape Peninsula University of Technology, the University of Cape Town, the Naval Museum, and many others. Some of these institutions opened their doors even over the weekend and availed their staff to be part of what we are trying to achieve with this Career Expo. For this, I say thank you so much. When I conclude, I want to thank the teams, I won't say the team, which was behind all the activities throughout this Career Expo, for their sleepless nights, They had endless meetings. There was quite a lot of traveling. They were sacrificing their time to ensure that we meet the expectations of the Deputy Minister, which is of promoting careers in arts, culture, and heritage. We would like to thank the services SETA for agreeing to project manage this event on behalf of all the SETAs. And we would like to thank the service providers who assisted us with making this event to be what it is. Really, this SETA, or rather this expo, it sets an example of what we can achieve as people if we come together and commit ourselves to a project of this nature. May we be a good example to different industries in the whole country that collaborative ventures are quite significant, and these ventures are for the benefit of the youth in our nation. I listened and heard that there are new SETA partners that have joined the program and that have pledged their support for this expo going forward. We really would like to thank you for that, and we are looking forward to be working with you even in future. Let me say, Siabulela, Baya Danki, thank you.
Rodi Buti Manamela, we can give him a big hand. I believe all that is left for me to do now is to invite those that haven't been through the stalls outside to visit the exhibition sites. I am very aware that we did not go through the exhibitions inside the hall, so I'm going to invite our guests to make their ways to the different stalls and get their experiences there as well. I'm going to need assistance here, team. I believe lunch will be served earlier than what, no, not even. At 2 o'clock, we should be ready to start serving lunch. I have been given the boardroom within this hall that we are in. You will be directed is the place where the exhibitors and other stakeholders will have lunch, and all the VIP guests will go back to the ECD building, which is where we had tea and coffee in the morning. And in that building, that is where your lunch will be served. I've done my part. Thank you so much to the entire team that has worked with us as the Office of the DM as we put this together. It's been one very long journey. I'd like to hear you give yourselves a round of applause. Rearibu.
I had said it to them early in the morning.
No, I said
Beauty therapy.
Sorry, man, I had like a super wide angle.
Yeah, all the best, eh? I don't know if she knows how pretty she
Yeah, with an operation. We are actually doing beauty therapy here now. This is our Deputy Minister.
Sorry?
That's it! Is it me or?
You got it!
Let's do this. Let's ask someone who didn't hear me. Let's ask someone who didn't hear me. Who does she look like? Okay. So it's not me. Maybe we change that.
I think so.
Yeah.
So basically we are responsible for science and in particular today we demonstrate the embalming process. So the embalming process is what we do to preserve the deceased. So the demonstration for people who travel for a distance of more than 300 kilometers you need to be preserved so that the body doesn't start to decay, and that is what the embalming process is. So I'll let the embalming specialist explain to you exactly how it's done.
G'day, I'm Sarikit. What we do is to preserve the deceased and then also preserve it. And then you go on the other side. This is the position of the so I'll stop it at you.
Yeah, right.
Alright. In the camel, use from alright, open up the arteries. This is the femoral artery we go in. Either go in with the femoral and we put the fluid into the femoral artery and open the vein. So what you do, you put the upper tube in, drainage tube into the vein. So you're draining it. You're pushing fluid through the whole disease and replacing it with the fluid. So that makes the flesh dry, starts to help you. So you either go in there or you go in by the carotid artery and the jugular vein again. You drain through the jugular. If you don't want to cut there or here, then you go in what we call the auxiliary artery under the arm. But that's all procedures, just the same thing to preserve the deceased. You never.
So how long after they have been declared dead can you do the, is there like a time period?
There's no, the sooner the better.
The sooner
the sooner the, because then what happens is, obviously the blood is not stalled completely. So it's easier to do it. The longer you leave it, the more complex it will be to actually do it. But there's no excuse for the body is decomposed or something. You can still use it. It's just different methods then. Obviously, if the body is decomposed, there's all this has been taken out. The police have done the post-mortem. So everything has been taken out. So then you must go on the inside and you need an extra spool and you all the intestines you put in the bag with paraformaldehyde. Powder out again, put it back. Nothing stays back. Everything must go back in that. Everything. You don't keep unless the
So when did you start to do that?
I started in 1974.
Wow.
And I did some training here, and then I went over to Australia for the reconstruction. That's when you're going to fix up the face when it's damaging. And
they can connect you, they can connect
So where do we have it now?
I'm hoping so. So they can plug the receiver there and then this one here.
But I had to
go to Australia.
Yes. I went to Australia for the reconstruction. That's to fix up. Then I went to Canada for the actual advanced.
Okay. So you can train other people to.
Yeah, I've trained. I've been to Lusiki, Queenstown, East London, all over.
Yeah, okay.
But that's through FAFA.
Yeah.
Doing the training.
Okay. So we can call her Helen.
Yeah, call her Helen.
And she's still speaking.
She's still speaking.
To the end.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sorry, dear. Can I bother you? I just need to mic you, please. Please. Please make sure it's on already. Yeah, it's on.
I'm happy you didn't get that, Helen. Did you pick it?
Just ask him if he got it, if the mic is on.
Sorry.
It's for the makeup.
This is for the makeup beauty. So I do eyelash training from basics to body.
Okay.
Which is two different courses, and then we got magazine pedis, hair enhancement. There's the old pictures there, and this is a new addition that I've added in, which is brow lamination now. Up and coming.
Okay. So where do you get your products?
I do import my products.
Okay.
Not all of them, but
Yeah.
most of them, unfortunately, because they're not manufactured
Locally made,
locally
yeah.
in the country.
Okay.
I used to have them branded in the country, but I've been very honest, it costs way more to have them
Good,
branded than
yeah.
bringing them in. So but everything else in terms of these things are all local, obviously.
Good.
But most
So
of
you
my
do
lashes-
training?
I do training as well.
Okay.
What's important here, the training that they offer is in line with the qualifications that we have obtained the services. She's in the process of getting accredited so that now their certificates can be recognized. For now, she just gives the certificate. But we are in the process of
Because I see the way it's going.
And then what's happening?
This got big modules, bro. Like, where's the receiver? He says he needs a receiver. In the same bag, where you guys got the transmitter, there's a receiver. Where's that? You know what, bro? You need to hold this thing full radio. I need to solve this thing as quickly as possible.
Then from there you can buy one item that you go, or you can find another. But this is the product, and I use it to train other salons, and I train families, I train hairdressers.
So you make these?
Yes, I've got a company that produces for me, but the formula is mine.
Okay.
Because I couldn't produce, obviously I went to them to, so they produce for me, but here in Cape Town.
Okay.
And then I distribute, get salons to train them, I get different individuals that I'm training, I use the brand, and also for them to distribute, to sell, because I mean, people take the product, like I'm here in the Eastern Cape, I've got people that sell the product to other people in the Eastern Cape.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna need this for my afro, eh?
you definitely, nobody doesn't need this, we all need it, the whole family, this is a family product.
Use it. Okay. All the best, eh? Great.
Thank you.
How are you? Bay College. Okay. Alright. Okay. Pleased to meet you. Great. Yeah. Oh, you're from the regional office. The director. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ask him to get well, eh? Yeah. Good.
Ibrahim Peters, acting principal at Poland.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And do you know this one, dear?
In a lot of trouble. Yes. It has been a little
Ahmad, can you take us, please? So what they normally
check my seats. The receiver that we removed from the minister.
You haven't done enough screening.
Yaka. It's here. Conectamos.
You're not worried. I'm worried that you're not worried.
Oh shit, Zona open, let's look at it. Asha open. Ask him to record the sound.
We have got one just briefly, quick, yeah. The electrical department, so there's no wires on here. We give them a panel and we teach them how to wire up as in the industry for a motor. So if I hit start, the motor must turn. If I hit stop, it must go. If I hit start and there's a problem on a conveyor belt in the factory, you must be able to hit the emergency stop. So we teach them how to do this. They must build a box because whatever they construct, they must know how to bend and put into a box.
So this is industrial?
It's more industrial, yeah. I'm going to show you the domestic side now. These are the tools, this heritage stage, we show them some meters, the old electrical meter and the old school bell and all that there. There's an old motor there and generator there.
Okay.
And then we got over here, we teach them computers, programming, PLCs, robotics. Here we got a little computer which they plug into their laptop or desktop. They'll write the program, download it into here. Here they built a little traffic light.
Okay.
So there you can see there's the traffic light.
Yeah.
So the energizers will go there. Those students love sound to light. So what we do is we let them build a device. We've got a microphone that changes sound into light.
Yeah.
So if I go 1 2 1 2 1 2, so if the students don't hear me, then at least they can see what I say. People like it. And we still use these oscilloscopes. And this over here, we've got an old breadboard with a built-in signal generator.
So nothing has changed since I was a
There
student.
is modern ones, but it's still the principle
the
of,
principles are still
of the
the same,
function
of course.
generator is exactly the same. The principle of a oscilloscope, although you get digital today. Then they must do a motor. So you press the button. The camera wants to see that motor turning. Then they wire this so that they understand exactly how a motor works. So if you take a big motor, it works on a magnet and a coil, and this is what they do over here. And here's our old meter again, sorted out. We teach them generators. The generator is a device that changes mechanical energy into electrical. Here we've got another one like this. And here we got some lights. They all build this. They build this so that you've got speed control on it as well. You've got the strobe, you've got the protectors. This is the domestic side.
I was moonlighting at my college.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? So here is it? So I can see you using this here.
I bet.
This is on the domestic side. So you find all the snaps. Yes, the light switches, the plugs that we went up. So you can switch here and then put up a demo. Here's a day-night switch. This is also motion detector here. And we got a light dimmer which is simulating speed control. So if we can make it motor fast or slower. Here we got the solar panel. When you close this, the voltage will change. Make it close or right low. Then you see the it's okay.
Oh, so it's interfering with the
If I close that, then you got it.
Oh, morning when the sun shines. Yeah.
To have these technology in our club. We would have left early. Okay, thanks.
GM, this is our student, the icon.
Yeah.
Mention the speech now.
Qualification without the
Okay.
and he's got his own company.
Good.
You mentioned him in his speech.
Yes. Great. Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Oh, okay.
I have one.
Oh, is this your
Yeah,
best?
she changed a bit better, boy.
Are you doing plumbing?
No, it's not sorry. Yeah, thanks.
So this is plumbing.
I'm not limited to treatment.
Yeah.
Also all different kinds of trades.
Okay, so you
Plumbing
studied
also
here.
qualify as well, but I'm still learning.
Yeah, so you studied here?
Yes.
Okay. So you came here have a job. Okay. All right. No, all the best, eh? It's good. Great. Okay. Oh, you're also a student here? Ex-team student. Okay. All the
Was that all the CETA?
No, we went to interning at Woolworths. Oh, all right. You guys are doing good stuff. All right, good.
Liam, this is what your control campus is doing as well. Under entrepreneurship. You can talk.
How are you? Good. Good. Yeah, your shirt is blending in nicely with this Sabine Salon. Okay.
DM, which one do you want to sit on? which one would you give him? Is it this one or that one? Oh,
the colorful one.
The colorful one. This one. DM.
Oh, I can sit on it.
You will take it.
Oh yeah. Let me sit.
You can also sit on
Yeah.
You can also sit on
it.
You're proving, you're testing
No,
it.
no.
I guess that's what you do when you get into a store. Try it first. This is lovely also.
This is
so this is what? Upholstery. Is it?
Yeah. When you came to
Yes, yes. With that chair, yeah. Oh, that's like. So you were when I was there, you were taking old furniture.
and
then bringing in and restoring it. Exactly. Yeah, this is lovely.
You get more than one.
Yeah.
And you remember this college.
Yeah. Good.
And this one.
No, these are lovely. No,
So say you will take this to Florence, eh? Florence, you are going to take this.
That's what.
That one, just here. This one.
Sulani? This 2, 1, 2 for the range.
Is it? No, that's good.
They will let you corner in your house.
We'll make a plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you see them?
Okay, what is bando coupe para gimbo kuna cha bobo.
This is our heritage. Yeah, we will talk about heritage.
Good morning.
Why am I getting
Fun, thanks yourself, sir.
What are we doing here?
We have agriculture and tourism over here.
This is Boland.
We're from Boland College. We're the only team in the Western Cape offering the agriculture program.
Okay.
And that is for our life in 3D. So if you look over there, it creates a 3D image.
So if you turn, it creates all of these little life.
There we go.
team as well? Okay, I tried.
And you can take it home and you can try.
What is that?
It creates a 3D image. Oh, this?
Image, yeah.
Oh! Yeah.
That's 3D to look at the brochure.
Yes.
I'm saying it because this is the agriculture stuff.
Yes, and over here we have hydroponic pellets. So if you put this in water, it grows to this size. You can put any seed in there, and as long as your seedling is 5-6 weeks old, you put this whole thing in the ground. This is biodegradable, and that just assists with the plant
Okay, let me just go get it.
Present you my product. So this is my product. It's called ice cream fun plain.
Yeah.
Because I live in Mitchell's Plain. I don't know if you're familiar with the area.
Yeah, I've been to Mitchell's Plain.
So Mitchell's Plain is always regarded as this area that is known for drugs, gangsterism, all this stuff. And then I thought, no man, why don't I try and make a difference? So I came up with this recipe of ice cream, my own concept recipe, and then I gave it the names of the area in Mitchell's Plain. So the brand's name is Ice Cream Funny Plain, and the company, it's registered with CIPC. We are tax compliant, everything. Our brand is registered for the next 20 years.
Good.
But this is one of the products that we have.
Is it?
Right?
So you make them from scratch?
Scratch. Right? Yeah. And
So what else do you do?
So we're gonna do, our next product is sugar cones, but our sugar cones is gonna be made from dhania, parsley, fennel, cayenne pepper, turmeric. That's all in the healthy aspects.
Yeah.
And then we have other range, vegan, other ice cream. And we'll have like your cappuccino, your latte, your macchiato, all in ice creams. Alright?
So you mainly sell these in Mitchell's Plain?
No, we don't, like currently, we're not serving because we're looking for investors, for someone to come on board and see our vision and our idea of how to do ice cream. So how we started, we tested our product against all the other products that we use.
I think they're the best.
No, this is not what I think. This is the feedback that I gave, that I got from the public. So we tested this against all the ice cream in Cape Town. Even the best company is called Unfriendly. So there was a survey done. They're the best ice cream in the world. We tested ours against
The best in the world?
Yeah, in the world. And the shipping.
We're gonna come back and taste this. Yeah, you must sell me your ice cream. Yeah, I say dessert. Okay. Oh, you're good. I'm good. Good to see you. Oh, yeah. Thanks for inviting us. Yeah. Just 2 minutes. He said 2 minutes. Now you have to stay.
I'm forgetting the time now.
Yeah. So this is what we're gonna have for lunch.
Yeah. Muhobe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it goes nice with bread. Then
So it's for and what else here?
Yeah.
Which is the hard-bone chicken.
Oh, hard-bone chicken,
Exactly.
bread. Aye, that's it.
This is so not fair. This exhibition.
Make sure we also imagine to have kuna live streaming. Maybe
That's a full scope. Come and get a takeaway.
Aquele live caméra, senta, est à la couture de direction.
How are you? I'm good.
which we fund because the base of the endorsed part is very good. That's how we fund that in just to show some of the things.
We take care of these objects, and especially if you look at this particular work, it's a certificate where a slave was sold as a commodity. It's very sad, and as you can see the difference that this particular in that painting is a well-known portrait here at the bottom. I place it there because they no longer, because this is more important, and I placed it higher in terms of the significance of how we look at it today. Yeah. So Ezekiel Museum falls under heritage, art and culture.
Yes.
We have now also talked about possible future programs that
So
we
all of these are in your
collection. Yes. Yes. And also we had to advise the insurance company that
Yeah.
we're bringing these objects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Minister, yes.
Okay, thanks a lot. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Oh,
How are you?
okay, how are you, CEO?
Yes.
I'm good, good. Great.
What do you want? You want to take a picture?
Oh, okay. You don't say. Point. They are the photo people.
You want?
Yeah, is her mask in short?
Thank you.
Good, good.
Thank you very much.
This is lovely.
Great.
Thank you so much.
So we are reaching the call now. Are we going this way?
You sound over there. You sound over there. You might click. Maybe somewhere. I don't know.